Emotional resonance is really important for our children's nervous systems. A blowing parent who is honest about it, like, I am in a terrible mood, I am so frustrated, it has nothing to do with you, versus a calm parent on the outside who is seething on the inside. That's a huge piece of what happened to us. Nervous system can't settle when there's a mismatch between their outsides and their insides.
Hello, and welcome to today's episode of the Phoenix Perspective Podcast. I am Corey Ray, your host. And today I have an incredible woman, Ann Odom, who is a former child therapist and has stepped into her sole purpose and calling and helping women reparent themselves through healing their relationship with their body and their nervous system. She has incredible knowledge and insights, but not only that, lived and learned wisdom that she has acquired from being a parent and being a single mom, and actively on her healing journey, but also supporting women in incredible containers that helps women to come back to a secure attachment with themselves, so that way they can show up as the moms that they want to be. She's an incredible energy. You will feel so seen during this episode. I know I certainly did, so you are not going to want to miss it. So let's grab a cup of coffee or a cup of tea and sit down while we have an empowering conversation with Ann Odom. Welcome to the Phoenix Perspective Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Ray Kovacs, a registered nurse and reflector in human design on a soul mission to help women like you rise from life's ashes with abundant energy, purpose, and joy. Each week, we'll meet at the intersection of science, soul, and storytelling as we create a bridge between holistic women's health, the sacred feminine, and cyclical wisdom. You'll get tools and insights from experts and guests, helping you to thrive in every area of your life. So go ahead and pull up a chair, grab your favorite crystal or cup of tea, and let's rise like phoenixes together. Hello, gorgeous. Welcome to the Phoenix Perspective Podcast. I am so glad you're here, Ann. You have been a radiant being that I am getting to know, and I'm so excited to get into this conversation. So welcome.
So glad to be here. I love a fellow woman just on the journey doing the things, being brave, having combos.
All of us doing the brave thing, showing up for ourselves, for our kids, for the planet and our mission. And sister, we're just all doing it. I am curious, where are you at either in your menstrual cycle or in the kind of season of your life? Where are you at right now, like currently in this portal of today?
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, it's so funny because I proudly have an IUD that has stopped me from having an active period since my second child was born. And you know what, for me, that just works really well. Like, I did the thing, and I've just been dealing with so much of my own like trauma body and like closing loops of chaos. And I'm always about upwardly editing. And when my OB said, we can just give you an IUD and have you not worry about that anymore. And I said, sounds great. So it's funny because I'm so old now. I'm like, I don't even know the cup and all that stuff. Like, I never did it because I had kids and then I stopped, having the cycle. But so I'm in my kind of like, Queen Empress era, but also like I'm edging between like mother and Queen Empress era of my trajectory of being a woman. Like, I'm still obviously actively a mother of elementary school age children, but I'm really feeling this moving into this kind of authority and strength and just like lifted chin energy of I have something to say and I'm going to say it and I'm going to be in my sovereignty and in my power, and no one can give it to me. No one can take it away from me. And I'm a little more excited to talk about that. But navigating our body and all she does for us at all seasons is so, so important. And everyone has their own way of doing that for sure.
Yeah, it's really important, as we have conversations about how our periods, our menstrual cycles, like, can impact us. And for a lot of women, it can be devastating every single month if you're experiencing really painful periods, really heavy periods. And that can create a lot of chaos in, like you said, the chaos inside of your nervous system. And if you're trying to heal from other things, traumatic things that you went through, then you might not be able to do all of that all at once. And it's okay if, it's okay. I think we just, like, sometimes we feel like we're waiting for permission, or, we might hear on one space that, oh, if you're on birth control, that it's bad. I say that a lot in the
Mhm.
spirituality spaces, and I
Mhm.
address that a
Mhm.
lot. It's like,
Mhm.
no, it should be informed consent and what is right for you,
That's right.
and you making those choices. And for, what's right for one woman may not be right for another woman.
That's right.
And realizing that your healing is your path, your journey, and whatever enables you to care for your body and quiet the noise. So I love that you're sharing that and coming into this Empress era. I think so many of us in our late 30s and 40s are like getting into that space where we're kind of on the cusp. We still have young children, but also we're coming into like our full spectrum here. Oh, it's delicious, sister. I love that. What has been the what has been the most delicious thing that you feel about this season that you're in right now, this, like, coming into your Empress space?
Delicious. I love that word. Honestly, I have been moving through a massive dark night for the last several years. If you asked me at some point, like, September 2025, someone said, "Hey, Ann, what's up?" I'd be like, "Just facing all my fears. What are you up to?" The
Yeah.
universe is just blasting them into my face constantly.
Mhm.
And it was so humbling and also so deeply, deeply transformative to just instill so much security inside my body, because I really feel less afraid than I ever have. And I love that feeling, and it's hard won, and I'm so proud that I've gone through that portal and knew what it was and danced with it and interacted with it in a very, like, engaged way instead of a victim
Mhm.
consciousness way, which, I mean, it takes what it takes to have enough of that victim consciousness to say, "Whoa, I just gonna try something different now because I've
Mhm.
done enough data collection and I don't think anything's changing and I feel terrible." So I just feel so in my body, in my power, alive. There's a lot of vitality in my energy too, because I've really been releasing a lot of long suppressed emotions from my body, and I've been magnetizing incredible women around me. And I just feel really just strong and alive, really
Mhm.
loving and strong, and it's a great feeling. I want everyone to have it.
Everyone, I want you to have your vibrant life, please. Yes, I mean that's one of my missions as well, is to help women create and claim their vibrant life and what that means to them in their health, in their passion and their purpose, and just feeling alive. And I mean it's like oozing off of you, and I'm like sitting here in my chair. I'm like, I love it. I'm just eating it up. But I think it is like when we do go through those dark nights of the soul, and it's the suck, it's shitty, we don't we feels like we're never going to get out from it. And then when we're on the other side and we can take a look back and say, actually, maybe that was a part of my rising. Like, I didn't know how good it could be on the other side of that. And I think that's a really, really powerful space to be. I love hearing that you're there.
Mm.
You had said that you knew about the dark night of the soul. Did you know about that before you were kind of in that space, or was that something you learned while you were in it?
Yeah, it was really interesting. My parents got divorced when I was a junior in high school, and I just lived with my mom. My big sister was in college for that last like year and a half of staying at home, and she was reading Eckhart Tolle and just on her spiritual awakening journey back in the 90s. And so
Wow.
I was exposed to these ideas a lot. And yes, Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, all of it, which I know we're adding heroine's journey, of course.
I'm reading
Um,
that right now
oh,
from
really?
yeah, from Maureen Murdoch. The Heroine's Journey. It's actually, well, it's like sitting on my shelf right there
So
with
good.
my
So
bookmark in
good.
it. So
So
good.
good. But it was so fascinating that I and this is the this is a great segue into my work. And it really did show me, oh my God, I heard these concepts. I understood them. I studied Buddhism in college. I was endlessly seeking information, but
Mm,
only until I had really landed at the center of my own nuclear family and became a mother and a wife did I realize that information will only go so far. And if I had been able to read that book and then get it, that would have been great. But I remember
sure.
just in like at 41 and just saying, wow, I really had to go out and do my own data collection. I really had
Mm,
to go do my own research. Like I could not take, Eckhart Tolle's word for it or, Pema Chodron's word for it. I really
mm-hmm,
had to check,
mm-hmm.
and so turns out humans are experiential learners. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, um,
Surprise, surprise. Like we actually have to go out and experiment, which by the way, etymologically speaking, experiment and experience are the same word. They were actually interchangeable back in like a few hundred years ago. Because they are the same. They are the same essence. We're just experimenting out here. I mean, nobody is like consciously aware of us doing this. So we're all just trying to fucking figure it out. We're all throwing spaghetti on the wall. And I feel like sometimes we walk around like thinking we should know how to be a mom. We should know how to heal from the shit. But we don't. We don't. We just have to experience it and we have to go out there and do that. And it was interesting as you were talking about the books and all the knowledge. And I feel like we as a society have kind of elevated knowledge so much. The masculine kind of heady space of all us just walking around as floating heads, learning all this stuff and not bringing it into our body. And that's the experience space. That's the experiment. Experience is the realm of the body, which is also the realm of the feminine. And so that experience as a woman, like realizing that, oh, we could read all the books, but until we feel it in our bodies and let the energy flow through, when we're not going to fully integrate it.
truly, and the tricky part is, and I want to just so explicitly name this, is that the way that most of us had to the ways our bodies developed, the context they developed in, where most of us are emotionally neglected and did not receive secure attachment through the parental caretaker exchange, which should have happened. It only takes one caretaker to provide internal security. I always want to remind folks of that. Like, you don't have to have your partner's buy-in. You can do that on your own. But also, because of those unmet needs and all these survival strategies, our nervous system, our attachment system had to adapt into. That's where all the stored emotions are. That's where the incomplete trauma responses are. And so the culture is absolutely perpetuating the above the neck learning. And I'm putting in air quotes like change. But then also inside of our bodies, we overthink because we underfeel, right?
Uh,
Like everything inside of our body is also not just like being programmed by the culture, but we've been waiting for our body has been reading the environment and waiting for the right relational field to disarm and release and rewire and complete some of these incomplete stress responses and stored stuck emotions. And so we are also unconsciously avoiding our bodies as well.
oof. Man, that was so good. You said we're overthinking and underfeeling.
Hmm.
Wow. And that is just truly the definition of the reality that we're living in right now. And it's not we're not going to sit here and blame, right? I feel like it does zero good to blame anybody for what it is. But I do believe it is our responsibility to understand the impacts of living that way. And
Truly.
the impacts not only on our own bodies and our health, but on how we show up in the relationships that are closest to us, especially as parents or partners.
Well, and you know, I, I kind of got this download one day because when I get into my body, when I was doing yoga with a friend, and then I get these like ideas, right? And just these
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
statements come inside. And the statement was, blame is the beginning of accountability. External blame is the beginning of accountability
Interesting.
because we have to de-shame our stress response, we've taken, especially as women and mothers, we've taken all the shame. We've taken all the responsibility. We've blended our survival adaptations with our personality. And that's not
Mhm.
accurate. In the beginning of my process, that really started to move things in the right direction for me finally was to understand that I was impacted by my environment, and I was impacted in the context of the parent-child relationship, and I am innocent and impacted. I say that a lot. You know, we have
Yep.
to see our somatic innocence, right? And then once we do that, we can actually once we start to see our own and accept our own and have compassion for the adaptations that our physiology has adopted in this culture and in the context that we grew in, we actually can start to see other people's innocence, right?
Yes.
Other people's,
Yeah.
impact that landed at our feet. And then we did a dance together. And so I
Mhm.
think it's really important. It's not about blame. We can't stay stuck there, but it's part of
Right.
the process is
Mm.
to say, whoa, yep. And that's what's so inherently gaslighting about the way we were raised and, as the Gen X, the millennials, the credo was you have food on your table, all your needs are met. What's
Mhm.
what's what's wrong with you? And so we were gaslit very actively and might still be gaslit by the kind of culpable caretakers in a way. And guess what we do? We treat ourselves the way we were treated unconsciously. So I see women all the time gaslighting themselves. I used to do it. I used to
Mhm.
absolutely do it.
Yeah.
And we need to know that that's happening so we
Mhm.
can shift it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You have to be aware, like, awareness is that first step, and realizing that you are, that internal language, which was patterned by what you heard as a kid, right? That blueprint, that setting on that thermostat was set a long time ago, and it was not your fault. You were innocent in that. And then as we get older, though, those stories, those patterns, the things that we keep saying internally are mirroring those things that we heard externally. And that also gets returned externally when we're dealing with our kids, when we're talking to our spouse, when we're dealing with our coworkers. Like, it comes out. And so that's where these ripple effects. And so why becoming a cycle breaker, like, and a new cycle maker, right? Breaking a pattern and then creating a new one. It's such a huge part of it. And I know that you had mentioned earlier the creating the secure attachment within oneself is a part of that. I would love to hear more about
Mhm.
that. Like, what does that mean to have a secure attachment with oneself? Because maybe I've heard it in the parent context, but not in self context. So what does that mean?
Right, and we hear it, I think, most often in the couple context,
Yeah, I've
right?
heard
And
that.
that's
Have
where
it in the word.
that's
Yeah.
how it yeah, and I think an example is a great place to start where I really woke up to my wounding in the context of my marriage, and most people I see, it's typically a child that mirrors something that is so agonizing and activating that there's usually some relationship or physical health issues, but I don't usually meet those people in the context of my work, but that where the body says, whoa, we're going to get your attention. Whoa, 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 whoa. And for me, it was in the context of my marriage. I was a child therapist. Okay. So I really felt good about how I was parenting and I was doing it through an attachment lens. And I'll explain that definition in a minute. But I dragged my husband to yet another couples therapist thinking that he was all the problem. And if I just got the right info in his ears, my whole life would be better. Okay. If anyone relates to that, you are not alone. And so I found, and as I understood, I found Stan Tatkin's work. This clinician locally was trained in this, and it's nervous system attachment work with couples. And in one session, so I'd always been externally focused. Like, I'm giving secure attachment to my kids, I'm parenting my kids, I'm treating them a certain way. All I can focus on is how my husband is treating me and the pain point. But I was just avoiding myself, avoiding myself, avoiding myself, right?
Mm.
Connection and accountability, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so and so the therapist had me and my husband, have a 5 minute, like, innocuous little, like, argument about, like, screen time for the kids. Okay. And she was like, okay, just do that. And so we did it for 5 minutes. And she immediately was able to acknowledge our attachment styles. And she looks at me and says, Anne, you have an avoidant attachment style. And I had never heard this before. And she said, you we're left alone too often to, metabolize and feel your feelings as a very young child. And therefore, your protective strategy is to avoid. And, I see this in my clients all the time, but this was the first time it happened to me where there was the adult me listening to what she was saying. And there were these slow tears falling down my cheeks. There was this deep, deep part of me that said, I remember. And you're naming something that really hurt. And that was this huge sea change moment for me. It was to realize that secure attachment is not just something I'm trying to give to my children. And that what that means is, Dr. Stanley Greenspan's work on interpersonal neurobiology. And I love Tina Payne Bryson, co-writer. They're both clinicians. Learning about their work really changed my life, understanding that, to make a human feel safe, seen, and soothed is what builds security through the relationship and then inside the person. So we all thrive. Our immune system functions properly. We are intuitive. We are flexible. We are compassionate. We are creative. And we are able to have healthy relationships when we have security inside the body. And that is only deposited through relationship. We are a social species. We are social mammals. And we find safety in other people, not logistics. I always say to parents, like, your kids don't read the news for safety. They read your nervous system for safety.
Yeah. That's good.
And a great example that was a huge light bulb moment for me to hear was this idea that, say, it's thousands and thousands of years ago, and we're all, hunter-gatherers in the wild near our cave. There's a fire being set, and I'm sitting there with my toddler, and there's a rustle in the bushes. Well, our nervous system scans the environment for danger over 4 times a second, consciously, unconsciously, on our behalf. And so I will go lightning fast to the bush to track what kind of rustle was that. Is this a predator or is this like a squirrel? My I like my nervous system will check, scan, and then I'll either, go into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, or I will settle back down to regulation. And a healthy nervous system is a flexible one that's
Yes.
responsive. And
Yes.
so my child won't look at the bushes. They don't have the cognitive faculties to do all of that. They read me.
Mm-hmm.
And so the bugger of it is, and what I'm so passionate about shifting is that I see so many of us mothers living in a chronic stress response, and I'm raising my hand because I did too. It's baffling what we will accept as our baseline and not know
Mm.
how unhealthy it is and how we're living in a chronic low key stress response. And I just want to name that, like, y'all might not even realize how bad you actually feel because it's just what you're used to.
Yeah, it's your
My
baseline. It's your
God,
normal.
it's your baseline. It's all you know. Um, but our children are, and I'm not trying to put more responsibility on parents, but I'm also just trying to give you a reason outside of yourself to do it because I needed that. I needed a reason outside of myself for my children because I had devalued my internal experience long, long ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I would never have done this for myself, but I did it for my kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The healing journey that we go on when we become parents is wow. I think it's such a powerful one. And, not everybody chooses that path, but I do believe that the people that do choose that, it's enlightening and it will break you open, it will crack you open in ways that you never even thought possible. You had mentioned that, in your work, a lot of time people come to you, women will come to you with relationship. Like that's kind of the space where that attachment, challenges come up and for me in my work, it's the health stuff that comes up
Mhm,
because
mhm.
they have the really horrible periods, they have the migraines, the autoimmune conditions, the weight that won't go away, all
Right,
those
right, right.
things, right?
Uh-huh.
And they're like, I don't know what's happening to my body. I need help, and they think it's about weight loss, but really what it's about is revealing all of these experiences, both big T trauma, little t traumas, all the things that our
Mhm.
body is trying to communicate with us. And so it's so interesting because I'm like sitting here, I'm like, wow, that's what I do is I help women have a relationship with their body. I externalize
Truly.
it in a way, and now they get to have a communication. I mean, that's what healed, me, and this took me on that path. Was my womb was kind of the portal in, and once I realized that my body, I call her my soul's mate. She is my teammate here on this planet, so I can live this beautiful life. And when I realized that I'm in relation with my body, that changed everything. It changes everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that changes everything when we understand that our nervous system is not a annoying system to hack. It is a relational, responsive,
Yeah.
live being that, I want to work with now. I want to respect and honor and
Yes.
listen to. And it's a two-way communication.
Yeah. Yeah. She talks to me all the time. All
Yep,
the time.
yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep. And she tells the truth, and that's a big one.
And sometimes when we don't want to hear it, even.
Oh, yeah. She will tell that truth and she will not shut up until you listen to her. And I love that about her. I really
Hmm.
do. I love
Oh,
it.
yeah.
It's also this beautiful two-way road because for parents to be an authentic, embodied, secure attachment figure, and I think we've kind of missed some of this. I think the old consciousness kind of bleeds into the new consciousness, but this isn't a performance. This isn't a script. This isn't something you can understand. It has to live inside your body. We cannot provide secure attachment to the degree that we need if we're not secure inside. And as our children keep getting bigger, I love that like all these accounts and we have access to all this information. It is wonderful. But also when parents keep ignoring their nervous system, the children are going to outpace them because I'm telling you, I see this all the time. I see it in my kids. When security is provided 40% of the time from the get-go, it's so natural and so easy. And these kids are kind and they're resilient and,
Hmm.
and like funny and wise. And they say these things, but I think we have a generation and there's definitely so many issues still with, child mental health is worse than ever. And
Hmm.
our culture is a total mess. And I believe we're turning the shiitake around. But I really think that we have parents that have given more security than they have, and they've done great doing that. But their nervous systems are going to keep being the squeaky wheel that gets the grease. They're living in shame. They're
Yeah.
living in a chronic stress response. They are worried all the time, right? They are beating themselves up all the time. And I always say, this is a secure enough relationship with your child for you to be growing in it, for you
Yeah.
to be evolving within it, for you to be human within it. We actually can heal in this context. Yes, we are the adult and they're the child, but the stakes feel so high and the
Yeah.
stress response is so massive because we have not brought the inner child, and I interchange inner child nervous system and body together all the time
It's
because they're
all the
essentially
same.
the same thing. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
They all play at the same
They're
playground. Okay.
all
They're all the
the
same.
exactly, they're all essentially the same. And we have not brought our body, our inner child, our nervous system up to date into actually the life we're living now. And that
Mm,
was a huge piece of the work, and that's the work I do with, the mamas I work with is the nervous system's always listening. That's why when your partner comes home and says, we're bankrupt or something, you would have an instant stress response as if there's a bear in those bushes, right? Like the
right.
nervous system is constantly listening. So let's talk to her. Let's tell her what we want her to know. Let's tell her that, that really sucked. You didn't like that. That was hard. That phone call felt terrible. Right? Validation, again, safe, seen, and soothed. The same things children need are the same things the body needs to experience relationally to become secure. And guess who's always, I'm raising my hand again, like I'm such a teacher. Guess who is always with our bodies? We
We
are.
we are always. Our bodies are always with us, and then we're always with our bodies. Like we're inseparable. And the moment you
Yes.
realize that you can become a teammate with that, like everything gets to evolve, and now you get to grow to lessen your reactivity with your kids, to help them stay calm when they're experiencing these new experiences. It truly is life changing when you start seeing that piece it makes well, it certainly makes parenting a lot easier. I mean, at least it has for me. I mean, a million times easier. If I was to sit and talk to myself, 4 years ago, which I was in such a dysregulated state. I had been in survival mode since I became a single mom, and I was angry all the time. Our reactivity was like I had fallen back into the patterns of what I learned as a kid. The yelling was the answer and to everything. And it it was it was tragic as I look at that, but I realized like I just really needed to come back home to myself to really expand and bring that safety down, because as I started to do that, then she calmed down. We stopped having the bickering. We stopped, having the tantrums. And so now, yes, okay, she's 11. We're going into puberty. Things are changing, and it's still a challenge, but it's a hell of a lot easier when I wake up in the morning feeling much more calm inside myself to be able to start the day. And it's those little
Truly.
things that really makes a big difference.
Yes, it doesn't have to be this hard. And it, you know, I know we hear like, come home to the body and you can do this. And this is why my unique approach is so unique and effective for mamas, because this idea that we have to do it, I have to heal my trauma. I have to come home to my body. I have to heal my inner child. I got to do one more mother loving thing, right? Like that also is this rugged individualism. That's that survival strategy in us. And what I uncovered through desperately seeking whatever the hell would work for me. Okay. And what dovetailed so perfectly with like my training and my job and my personality and all these elements and just the way the universe was working with me. We don't have to do it all alone, and we can find secure relational inputs in the middle of our already like maxed out logistics, because we have to. Okay.
Yeah.
We just are. I mean, I'm a
Yeah.
single mom too, but even moms that are married up, it's too much. We got way too much to do.
All of it.
And so really allowing, so much of healing the body is again another little download, but it's so true. It's just we don't have to heal our trauma. We just have to show our body that she's safe enough to do it.
Yeah. She can do
And
it herself.
she will do it. She builds babies and she pumps your blood and she does all these amazing things that I
Yeah.
don't get. I could never do. So
She
let's
just
just
has to feel
bow
safe enough
down.
to do it. Yeah.
That's right. So let's show her that, right? And so working with nature and knowing just enough about our nervous system and pairing an experience. Even right now, my chair. I mean, anyone sitting in a chair in a car, just take the elevator from your brain down to the backs of your thighs or your back body, right, in the chair. And I just saw you even exhale a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
See?
I
So
did.
we're just showing our body like, hey girl, look, you're supported. You're sitting in this chair and feel that support. And then the body, there's usually an involuntary exhale. And what I say, I'm so sick of like, take a deep breath. No one wants to hear that, including our own nervous system. But let's show her something that will make her take a deep breath,
Mhm.
right?
One of the most incredible things I had ever heard. I think I'd learned it from a meditation practice, but it was this idea that instead of me sitting on top of the ground, that the earth was holding me up.
Totally,
And it
totally, totally.
like and so it was like in that moment, and that kind of just happened, just what you said. Like I forgot, oh yeah, I do not have to hold myself up. Mama Gaia is holding me. She's holding me via this chair. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay. And we forget.
And my first intervention, this was COVID. I had two toddlers. I was already working. I mean, I was working in community mental health. It was so intense and my nervous system was shot to hell. Okay. My number one intervention was just I call it like shut it down, just lay on the ground. Like literally
Mm,
stop talking, doing, thinking. I would do it in the middle of my own tantrum
mm-hmm,
or right after. And I've thought about it for a while too before I did it, which is normal, y'all. You're going to hear me and be like, that's a good idea. And then you won't do it. And
mm-hmm.
then you'll make a connection later. Don't beat yourself up. This is how we do. Okay.
Yep,
So normal.
yep.
Right. And so I've been told to do that. And I was like, oh, that sounds terrible. I'm not going to do it. And so eventually I just shut it down because I understood that I just need to show my body that she is held by the gravity and the hardwood floor, and literally show her with sensation. And my entire back body, when you do that, your entire back body is in contact with the surface of wherever the hell you are. Okay. Like wherever you are, you can do it. And so that was me not just regulating myself in the moment, but I also understood that what I was doing was depositing more data that, oh, see the need, meet the need. She's freaking out. Let's show her safety. That's what I was doing with my own body. Oh my God, you're freaking out because you just took it and took it and took it and avoided it and avoided it. And then it just builds, and then it explodes. You're slamming like a towel, a dish towel against the counter as hard as you possibly can. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it'll just come out sideways, y'all. It just does. The body has got to relieve that pressure. And so when we do that, we can just lay on the ground and not get up until we feel like a human again. And again, it completely neutralizes the energy in the room too, because there's this really cool thing about, like I mentioned how the nervous system, neuroception, our little amygdala in the back of our brain, that like reptilian, old survival brain part is scanning constantly for danger. But I know we're also worried we're, harming our kids and scaring our kids. But when you get below their eye level like that, like no one is a threat when they're in Shavasana style in the
Mm-hmm.
kitchen. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you're immediately, de-escalating them by being below their eye level.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so you're
Yeah.
completely shifting the entire energy in the room also if you're engaged in a really crappy moment with your kids and that's the reason you're freaking out. And or just as the safety bellwether of the house that we're tasked with being, I just wanted to give that little example and say how much it really just took me to another level of security. Just
Mm-hmm.
baby steps, baby steps.
It's just,
Mhm.
yeah, we don't have to do all of this all at once. As a matter of fact, like you can't.
You can't.
You
You can't.
have to kind of stretch and expand in steps, but it still has big impact. I mean, we're talking about like if somebody's listening and they're like, yeah, right, okay, laying on the ground is going to help me out when we're having tantrums, and I'm like, well, actually, maybe go back to that thing that we talked about with the experiment. Maybe try it out, get curious about it and see how it feels. And yeah, okay, if you have older kids, they might look at you funny for a minute, but then I bet I could like picture my daughter in my head. If we did that, if I just laid on the ground, she probably would join me in 60 seconds. It doesn't have to be all these big things. We don't have to go on these huge retreats or do all this stuff. Sometimes it just starts there, just with one little thing. We've forgotten as a species what rest is like, and we've
Mm.
really created such a space where rest is not allowed. And even just in that moment, in that space when rest means a reset, it's like it's like turning the computer on and off or off again and then turning back on and
Yeah.
then magically it
Yes.
works.
We are the computer.
Yes.
I know. And really understanding too how much I used to never, again, my attachment style was avoidant and I was
Mhm.
avoiding myself, right?
Mhm.
And so which so many of us do because as women and mothers, we're so externally focused. Of course, there's so much we need to track and do and take in, but also as children, usually the ones called to do this work and that need to do this work, our boundaries are so porous. I call them like spider web boundaries. So everyone's we were tracking our caretakers constantly for who am I and how am I doing? Like how safe am
Mhm.
I based on your energy and how connected you are to me? Because again, because of the attachment system, because of the way humans are hardwired to be in relationship, and that is our safety, you know, that's something that we've been looking in each other's faces for our whole lives and we were coming up short, right? And so we're still tracking our safety in other people's faces. And I just really want to name that like you can just stop talking and taking things in and doing and moving and deciding and eating and just lay your body on the ground. And then your brain will follow the body
Mhm.
and the
Yeah.
brain will slow down and just get a break. Like the rest you're describing too, it's just like, let's let the brain rest.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
a huge,
we're
huge
in
thing.
we're in so much overstimulation. I don't think we realize, like, there's constant noise. You constantly have information that's coming in. It's like we're walking around with somebody's spraying a fire hose in our mouth constantly with information, stimulation, and our nervous systems were just not designed to have all of that happening.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like just giving ourselves even just a little bit of a break, closing our eyes, taking our headphones out when we go for a walk. Just like these like little moments of reducing that stimulation can really have a big impact.
I think again, going back to what I said in the beginning, is that we have been unconsciously avoiding our bodies because that was the trauma response of, oh my
Right.
gosh, little 3-year-old Anne cannot feel this agony alone. She's meant to, co-care. It's meant to be shared and validated, and she's meant to be co-regulated by someone. And so we're going to store this for later. We're going to wait. And that's so loving. But that's why of the nervous system, right? To say, we're waiting until she's in the right relational field to complete this and to feel it. And so for some of us, I just want to name this in case this is you, and it was certainly me in the beginning of this awakening into my wounding. I did not want to be alone with my thoughts. Like
Hmm.
quiet scared me. Quiet was too much intimacy with myself.
Ooh, yeah.
And so that was part of my coping strategy, and my stress was constantly listening and doing it. I still do it, y'all. Like last night, I was reading some of the news, and I still use it sparingly, but I just was like, I'm going to put on Girls Five Eva on my phone while I brush my teeth and just settle into bed because I just want some of the laughter and the distraction. And that's a soothing thing I'm consciously doing right now. We still will numb, we still will distract, but
Yeah.
less and less and less, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not here trying to tell you to raw dog life all of a sudden. Like, absolutely not. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? It's just
Yeah.
like gradual change, but I think sometimes we can hear that, and if your body has a real protective response to that, believe your body. Everyone has a unique history and a unique system, and also what I want people to do is really start to like you said, be in relationship with their body and believe their body when they try something that someone genuinely recommended, and then for them it creates another stress response or there's an aversion to it. There's a reason you're avoiding it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Does
It
that make
took me
sense?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I look back and I say, I mean, it took me 6 months after I left working in the emergency room, as an ER nurse, and I was at home alone, first time in my life I had ever spent that hours at a time. I grew up at a kid, I'm the oldest of 9. I had a chaotic house, like, I, was in the military around, all the people, so in my life, I was constantly around people, and then suddenly I'm at home for hours at a time by myself, and it was agony. It was agony. It took me 6 months to get to a point where I actually was brave enough to start actually getting in. I was watching all the Grey's Anatomy. I was eating. I mean, I was doing
Yes.
everything to avoid. And so, yeah, like what you're naming here is really important. And sometimes I forget too, like, oh, yeah, I remember I was back at that point and, I'm still learning.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
it's like, okay, it does take us time sometimes, and maybe we can only be in silence for 30 seconds. Maybe it's
Right.
only 60 seconds, right? Maybe that's where we're starting. I know for
Mhm.
me, it took it was a stair stepping to get to that point. And now I can sit in silence and I feel very comfortable with that. I feel very comfortable with that. So if someone is just starting on their journey and that feels unsafe, know that it's okay to start small. It does not have to be, you do not have to spend hours on end journaling and meditating. Like, that's
Yes.
for the pro. I mean, it takes a while and I can do that now, but I couldn't do that. I had to set timers for when I was doing that kind of work, like 5 minutes maybe, of doing that inner
Which
child work. Yeah.
truly, and which is again why it's so paramount to be in relationship with the body, to respect the wisdom of these bodies. My God, what they do. It just
Mhm.
okay. You are smarter than me in a lot of ways, right? Like,
Mhm.
I believe you. Like Dr. Becky,
Mhm.
I'm like, we need to Dr. Becky our bodies the way, we
Mm.
know now we should tell children. I hate we have to be told, but we do in this culture. I
Mhm.
believe you when you say
Yeah.
you're hungry or sad.
Yeah.
And that's part of the initial work I do with the women that I work with and in the group container that I do Safe Inside is just in the most simple way. You don't even have to make any like external changes, but just for starters, like, I believe you, or you didn't like that. Like, just simple. Like, I like that. I didn't like that. I saw one of my mama friends say that to her daughter, just like, I didn't like that. And I was like, ooh, I love it. Just
Yeah.
honesty,
Yeah.
authenticity,
Yeah. Hmm.
but just really um, being in relationship, being in,
Yeah.
sacred, secure relationship with this
Yeah.
incredible nervous system that needs to
Hmm.
be believed and soothed and protected and celebrated. It's just a little sweetie pie waiting for that, like a little puppy, just wants your attention.
It is. It is. And it's so magical. And you stepped away from therapy and now you're doing the somatics and the movement pieces of coming back into the body to help with the regulation. And I feel like you're weaving it all through here, all of these things that you work with women. But how has that, as a professional, how has that shift changed how you view or help people?
I always wanted to work with children. So I did very little just of that traditional, like, adult to adult talk therapy. I was always wanting to work with kids. I was always wanting to protect kids. That's been in my heart my whole life. And I also spent 7 years doing child protective services as a social worker,
Hmm.
like actively, protecting children and being in a flawed system. And that's where I really learned about trauma and the nervous system, was in the context of that job and intergenerational trauma, but particularly trauma, and how I started to, I was doing dyad work between parents and children. I was constantly seeking for my own reasons, as, my marriage, just despite our best intentions, my ex-husband and I just so didn't want to repeat the cycle of divorce. And we would have these wonderful, pockets of relationship time, but our nervous systems, we were just two wounded inner children just fighting so hard at each other. So while I'm doing my work clinically with children, I started to realize that the attachment system, the nervous system, the parent-child dynamic is so supreme. And so let's work with that. But as I started to work deeper I was like, okay, well, I'm going to work deeper with parents and their nervous system. And so I started doing more like parent coaching and really empowering the parent and helping them understand how they can work with their nervous system and the child's nervous system to do this dance together. But behind the scenes of my professional work, I'm like trying everything I possibly can to, make my marriage work and make my family work, right? Like, and I did emotional release body work. It's the absolute first episode of my podcast with an incredible healer named Laura Torres. And with a little breath work and some touch, we went into my body and I reconnected with my inner child and had this huge cathartic release of just like buckets of just like guttural tears that
Mm.
just were so dormant, and releasing the trauma of being spanked, right? Like, just it was so crazy how I could see my little inner child pointing to the right side of my back, like, that's where it was, that's where it happened. And releasing that, and then literally the next day, Corey sitting on my front porch and being like, my nervous system is completely different. I just had this like widened
Mhm.
capacity. And the beautiful thing, y'all, is when we work on that level, it's just it's a new set point. It ain't going back. Okay. Like, really, the healing is so beautiful. So I started to understand that, like, wow, I just naturally have more patience for my children. I just naturally have more empathy for them. Now that I've reconnected with my inner child and I'm in relationship with her, and I used practitioners to help me with that, right? Because again, we need a lot of human relating
Yes.
and scaffolding, and I needed to receive Laura's safety to access my own, and for my own little girl to be like, we're safe enough to feel this now. And so as I was working with parents on their own nervous system, I just kept being like, deeper, go deeper, more, right? Like, okay, we're not quite there. We need to go deeper. And so then I started to work with the nervous system of the parent, right? Then I just started to be like, oh, wait, the child just is downstream of all of this. They don't even need to
Yeah.
be involved, right? Like, truly, And then when I'm not teaching the parent, I'm giving them the parental experience that they should have had. The beautiful thing about the body and the nervous system, it doesn't know time and
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't know what's in 3D or not. And so we could travel back to certain experiences in the imagination in the limbic realm, and through my secure nervous system, the parent's body, their consciousness could go there, and we could rewrite, and they're getting all this intuitive information from their inner child, just like I did on Laura's table, right there. And so I have worked with so many inner children with parents, and y'all, they are the wisest ones. They don't need to read a parenting book. They know what is healthy and what is
Mm-hmm.
not. It
Mm-hmm.
is incredible. They are right about everything. And at the bottom is always their goodness. Everything they want is rooted in goodness. And they are so kind and wise and forgiving. And it just blew me away that then naturally we become intuitive, embodied, authentic parents. And authenticity is a really important element here, because our attachment system as humans, we have two core needs. We have a core need for attachment, but right below that is authenticity, because we're meant to be guided by our intuition. We're meant to be guided by our inner voice. And that's a huge issue we have with the adults walking around right now. Because again, we were like low key gaslit. You're not full. You're not hungry. You're not sad. You're not angry. You can't be angry. And so our internal working system has gotten so off track. And that's when your attachment system is working properly and your intuition is actually available to be like trusted, and we build that in tiny little drops over and over again. You were intuitive in your parenting. I know what I needed to hear as a child. So that's what my daughter needs to hear, which is I'm right here with
Yes.
you while you feel it. And I can actually hold her hand and see her suffering and not make it about me. Or even, I can know that she just needs to be soothed and met with and laid down with.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell her,
Wow.
you cry as long as you need and mean it. Because I know that feeling needs to move through, and someone's impatience, someone's discomfort is not in service to her body operating in its optimal function, which absolutely leads to physical health, right? To immunity, to all of these elements.
For a long time, I felt like my body was working against me because of years of irregular cycles with polycystic ovarian syndrome. My energy, emotions, and symptoms felt really unpredictable. But one of the things that truly changed my relationship with myself was starting to track my cycles consistently with the Cycles Journal. Just spending 5 minutes a day with my cycles journal helped me to realize these patterns aren't random, they are cyclical, like me. It's helped me to create a roadmap of self care so I could build deeper self trust and a more intentional way of living in a way that fits my busy schedule as a mom, farmer, and business owner. And what I love most about the Cycles Journal is that it's inclusive for anyone wanting to understand and follow their inner rhythms. Whether you're actively cycling, perimenopausal, postmenopausal, or simply wanting to get to know yourself more. If you want to try out the Cycles Journal, you can use my code Sacred Phoenix for 10% off. Just click the link in the episode description to get your copy today. Now, let's get back to the show. There's so much to explore there. I keep thinking while you're speaking about these women and the amazing work that you do with them to help them build this attachment within themselves. I keep thinking about the women who have been trying to do all of this on their own,
I know.
and how and my heart goes out to them because they know, right? Like, we know that we don't want to repeat these patterns of things that we've experienced as kids. We want to show up as present moms who aren't reactive, who are able to hold them, but we're struggling on the inside to try to hold that. And like, all I keep thinking is like, we don't have to do all of this by ourselves. That's why, like, getting in containers of being in spaces where we can heal together and co-regulate, and I imagine even in your group containers, how much the women in there probably talk about how important it is to be around other women that are
Well,
doing this work. It's, I mean,
yes. And I pin that for 1 second, because I also just want to name, like, we will be reactive, y'all. We are responsive human beings and bodies. And there's a lot going on right now. There's a lot we're cleaning up. There's a lot we're being impacted by. I've personally been through a global pandemic, a hurricane, a divorce, and now whatever the hell is happening with our government. Okay,
Now,
so total,
yeah.
like, again, it's all about having grace with ourselves and
Yes.
each other. You are going to, if we can't freak out in our houses, I don't know where we're supposed to do it.
Hmm.
My kids need to freak out. They get to freak out here, and I don't judge them, and I'm with them or support them as best I can. It's all about having, again, a relationship with ourselves where we forgive and understand instead of have some unattainable, inhuman expectation of ourselves as parents. Because y'all, they need us to be real. They don't need us to be perfect. Because that shows them, that shames them. That just shames them unconsciously. Like, I'm de-shaming everything when I'm like, y'all, I'm in a terrible mood, or I really popped off at you and I'm so sorry. That was not about you.
This piece that you're talking about here, because I think so many women are walking around thinking they're scarring their children because they haven't healed every single piece of their trauma. I know I've had so many conversations in my, in my inner circle with, and thoughts even of myself is like, oh, I've fucked up my kid. Like I didn't heal fast enough. And now she's got, confidence things or things like that. And I realize how important it is for us to step into grace. And even just saying, you know what, mom just had a temper tantrum. I'm sorry. I need to go like breathe. Or can we, we call them oxytocin hugs in my house. I was like, can I get an oxytocin hug? And realizing that we get to do this work together. Like I believe on a soul level that our children, like these souls that we come together with, there was an agreement before we came here. And so they knew what they were in for. I knew what I was in for when I chose my parents. Like it's a part of it and it's something bigger than we can even realize, but we're not expected to just heal all this all at once. We're still going to snap. We're still going to be reactive, but we get to come back into grace and then show our children that, hey, it's okay. When you make a mistake, we say our sorry. We say, how can we move from here? How can we feel better together and learn from this so we can do better next time?
No, and really, I invite the listener to really think and listen to their body's response around this. Who feels safer to you? Someone who is authentic and self-aware, or someone who is on good behavior constantly? I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean,
Because it sounds sus. Yeah. It sounds
it's
sus.
it sounds sus, exactly. And understanding how emotional resonance is really important for our children's nervous systems is that a blowing parent who is honest about it, like, I am in a terrible mood. I am so frustrated. It has nothing to do with you. And yes, I am breathing fire in this kitchen right now. Like, stay away. I love you. Like, what do you need? Versus a calm parent on the outside who is seething on the inside. That's a huge piece of what happened to us. And that's a huge piece, I think, of why we unconsciously think we have to be like emotionally, have like no emotional range. And, as an adult, like our children should never see our emotions because that's what our parents did. And I know they thought that was good for us. But, our nervous system can't settle when our attachment figures, who again, we're reading for safety, there's a mismatch between their outsides and their insides.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying everything's fine. But I can see that there's not a lot of light in your eyes and your breathing is shallow and you're moving
Mm-hmm.
quickly.
Yep.
I can hear the tone in your voice. Again, this really, blew my mind and pushed me to another level of, devotion to this work in my own body and how to work with parents was, because of the way the nervous system works, you can say the most validating words in the world. The children can feel they're registering constantly for safety, and the tone of your voice says everything to their body. Okay. And if we're not truly regulated or meaning it, they feel that. And I think that can freak people out because they're like, oh my God. But no. It's never too late to turn around. It's never too
Yeah.
late. Okay. The attachment
Yeah.
system is so forgiving, and our children are
Yes.
so hardwired to be connected to us.
Yes.
So hardwired. And so I just want to just keep illuminating some of these things for people because the shame of some new projection of perfection onto calm, conscious parenting is our
Mm-hmm.
own trauma like we're just tripping balls on our own trauma and projecting it onto people, places, and things, including the gentle, respectful parenting movement. And so, great news. You get to be real now.
Yes. You can show up authentically with your children and you are not breaking them. As a matter of fact, you're showing them that it's okay to be imperfect, that you're modeling for them how we move through these spaces, because guess what? You're a human being. You're going to continue having tantrums until the day you die.
Exactly, especially with what's going on around us. My God. I mean, this
Yes.
is a wild time.
Oh my
Yes, yes,
gosh.
yes, yes. Yes,
And so now you're
yes.
showing them when you start doing this work and creating those safe spaces inside of you, that relationship with yourself, you're showing them how to do that. And I think it's Ed Milet that said that kids are not taught, they are caught. They catch what we have. They see how we are and how we behave. And that is literally, we are building their nervous systems with our nervous systems as we are learning that. So if there's somebody who's been feeling like, oh, I'm fucking up all the time. I thought I was over this. I thought I had gotten over my reactivity. Like, no, sister, you are right on time. You just keep bringing that grace and authenticity with them. And if you're finding like in your luteal phase that you just freaking like, I mean, we're cyclical beings too. So that's like a whole nother thing we've not even talk about, but I talk about that a lot is like, oh, you're going to be a different person on day 9 of your cycle than you will on day 27. And realizing that there's those differences is going to take some different care for yourself. And that's what, I teach women is that piece right there, and how important it is to see that relation. And
Yeah.
I feel like the more grace that we can give ourselves and continue to work on it, right? We're not just going to like rest on our laurels. We're going to keep coming back. But that authenticity is going to make such a big difference for our kids and for our relationships.
The sea change we're making and that we have to change, I don't usually have that for myself. That's the whole problem. So I knew, and I teach parents, and that's part of why like my group work has gotten so transformational. And then in addition to that, there's this Marco Polo element of women tending to each other, because when I can't see myself as innocent and impacted when I'm being like scary and mean in the kitchen, I would call my girlfriend Rachel and be like, I'm feeling terrible. I need you to mother me right now. And we all knew what we were doing, and we do that for each other. Or, my grandmother who passed away 20 years ago, at the beginning of this work as well, like I would close my eyes and see her in my mind's eye and call her in and just feel her loving me and co-regulating me, receiving grace, receiving
Mm.
eyes that don't judge you, receiving a tone that knows you so well, because most of us can't do that for ourselves, maybe a couple of times, but we need to receive it, receive it, receive it, receive it. The earth is holding me right now. I am literally like backyard of my house as a single parent. Like my co-parent is the backyard and the stars
Mm-hmm.
and the nature. Like I go out there and I'm like, y'all. And they're like, girl, we know. And I just feel
Mm-hmm.
this relationship, and I feel this sense of being seen by the stars. I have this incredible the backyard that I manifested. And it's so beautiful because I go out there to breathe and receive,
Mm.
right?
Yep.
And I'll call a friend. I need a voice that loves me. And I use that consciously, proactively to show my nervous system when I don't got it, it doesn't mean I can't get it. It means all I got to do is put myself in the way of it.
So for the woman who is listening to this conversation, maybe she notices that she's been in a lot of reactivity, but she wants to make a change. And maybe she's like, this is the first time she's heard about this nervous system stuff, and she's feeling like she wants to start this path. Where does she start?
Well, if she's listening right now, I would really invite her to notice her body right now and how her body responds to what I'm going to say. Right? Because remember, our body is listening always to everything. I really just want her to know that there is nothing wrong with her, and everything that is such a pain point right now, or that powerless feeling or that shame feeling, it's all rooted in your own body's survival strategies, which make a lot of sense, right? Like you are not your stress response. Your stress response is actually doing her best to protect you. and she thinks she's doing a good job, right? And in a way she is, because your body, your stress response cares way more about you being safe than being a good parent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I invite you to consider yourself as the recipient of that protection. I invite you just to imagine and orient a little differently to the fact that, your nervous system has been with you your whole life, reading the room for you and deciding this is too much for her. We're gonna store that for later, right? This is so overwhelming. We're gonna pull up all these walls because we don't want her to get hurt again like that. Right? And so all of your survival strategies are deeply conscious and deeply innocent. And yes, you'll be a better parent or have better relationships or feel better, which you absolutely deserve, but you know, you deserve to be in your life, and your children really need to be raised by you. Like, I want that woman in the
Yeah.
world. I don't
Yeah.
want this protracted, hijacked, insecure, overthinking, underfeeling. And y'all, that was me 1,000%. Okay. But I want the real you in the world. I want the secure, embodied, intuitive you in the world. That's who needs to be raising your kids. And I want you out in these streets too, like, because you've got gifts to give. And when we're
Yes.
in survival, we just can't do that. This isn't just about being a better parent. That's still like externally focused. That's still role focused. And I don't know about y'all, but there's a part of my body that's just like, I'm tired of giving everything to everyone else. What about me? Because we really need to orient back into our body. And when we do, we're like, what do I want? I love asking women, what do you want? What do you want life
Mm-hmm.
to feel like? You were a creator, right? Like, you have power. Let's gamify healing a little bit with the manifesting of it all, because that's a whole nother thing. Because guess what? When we're no longer living in a trauma body, right? We're more intuitive, and we magnetize things to us, and we really create a lot more than we think we're able to. And that's fun. And you get to, if that's your carrot, and it was for me, like, I did want to be a better parent, but I also was like, how magical can I be? What am I capable of? What
Right.
is my power? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like,
What are my superpowers? What am I here? What magic am I here to bring? What flowers am I here to plant on this earth?
and I
Yeah.
will just say one more comforting thing. Like, my children have been through so much. I mean, I was in a really unhealthy, toxic marriage that brought out the worst in me, okay? That brought out the deepest depths of my survival strategies. Um, my children experienced a global pandemic, a hurricane, a not very pretty divorce situation, and they're secure, okay? Like, they are. And because I knew that it only took one person to deposit security in their body, and I was going to do it. I didn't do it perfectly, but I did it
Yeah.
enough. And I knew how
Yeah.
to call in secure inputs for myself and my children. I outsourced security for them. You guys, we can outsource that, okay? But I just knew my number one goal was to reclaim security in my body and deposit it in theirs, and whatever the hell that looks like does not really matter.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's gonna look different for every woman. Every situation that is gonna look different. You have different people around you, you have different circumstances, and whatever that feels like for you, you let your body lead you and let you know where those places are, where you can outsource that and create a community around you. I mean, there's nothing I could say more than that, is like create a safe space for yourself and create a community around you that becomes the container for your life, and your children get to feel that because you're not only creating that safe space in yourself, but now you're also creating that environment for them as well, and it's going to look different, and there's no right or wrong way for that to look. Let your body lead, let your
Yeah,
intuition lead,
I know.
and that's going to
Yes.
be the amazing space.
I mean, it's available, I promise.
It is. I have a gift for you if you're open to
Mhm.
it.
I mean,
Uh, if you're open to receive.
it's crazy. You're the third gift like, I've had two different people today, a friend and then someone that did my group work. Like, I want to send you something. I have a gift for you. And I literally have said twice already today, I will receive. And I'm like,
I will
I'm in my
receive.
era of receiving. So that's so
Well,
funny. You're the triple crown.
wonderful. Wonderful. Well, one of the things that I do when my guests come on my podcast is I offer to do a card reading for them while we're here on the podcast. So if you would like for me to pull a card, I would be happy to do that and give you a message just to show you some appreciation for spending your time here with me today.
Love it. I love it. I can't wait to see what those cards say.
Okay,
I have one
wonderful,
card.
wonderful. So I'm using Rebecca Campbell's Work Your Light deck. I love this deck. It's so absolutely beautiful. And Rebecca Campbell, talk about somebody who brings some safety to nervous system, that woman.
Yeah.
So what would be supportive for Anne today in her energy? And this is it. Spirit is saying, take a break. Take a break. It is a life's work, not a season, and get off the treadmill. I mean, there's not a whole lot of reading into that, but it is a beautiful reminder that your mission and your purpose and what you're doing is is a continuous space of growth, and you don't have to shove every single thing that you're doing in one space. It all gets to unfold in like a beautiful rose that unfolds one petal at a time.
I know. No, the card is perfect. I literally been working with that energy a lot right now. I will tell myself, there's time. There's time.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
I'm consciously slowing myself down because you can see I have so many ideas and I
Yes.
have all this stuff I want to create in the world and I am slowing down gradually and trusting that there's time. Everything
Mm-hmm.
happens at perfect time. There's time for all of these ideas for me to birth into the world and
Yes.
create what I'm intent on creating to come forward. So it's the perfect card actually for me. And,
Wonderful.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you, Spirit. That was great. That was great. Thanks for giving that to Anne.
Well, that
So
relational experience is so essential.
it
This
is.
spiritual element is
Yeah.
so essential. That was I felt attuned to just because that card was read. I felt seen. I felt like noticed. I felt
Mm,
special. You're thinking
yeah.
about me?
Yeah.
Ooh, that was just for me. I'm special. I'm thought
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
absolutely. And I mean, from a perspective, that's why I do these for my guests, but also just it feels good. It feels good to be seen and give us just a moment to witness ourselves and to witness each other as women and say, you're doing an amazing job. You're doing amazing things out there. And also, what you're growing is, going to continue to unfold and you deserve to be poured into. And I think the one of the greatest skills that we can relearn. I think that we already know intuitively how to receive, but we're kind of unlearning in this space that it's not all about giving, it is about receiving. And that when you receive and open to that, that there is so much magic there for you. And that's really what creates a vibrant life. It's about the receiving. I think the more practice we can get in that, the better. So,
A
um,
100%. A
how
hundred
can
percent.
women connect with you? What's the best way to get into your world?
Yes, well, my Instagram is the reprogrammed parent, and I really do have fun on that thing. I really do enjoy.
I
People are
love
like,
your
"Oh
Instagram.
God, so
It's so good.
yes!" It's just this perfect blend of my sense of humor and pop culture and music and helping people, and I really enjoy the content creation, and hopefully there's value and validation and some laughs in there for sure. And then in my little link tree there, I'm really excited about just chugging along with this this group's I guess structure that I developed last year with which is a 6-week somatic group container called Safe Inside, and I've tried to price it in a really sustainable way. If anyone needs a payment plan, I'm all about it. That can even extend beyond the life of the container. I just don't want finance. Finances are weird, and I hate that
Yeah,
we have to pay for this. I really
I hear
do.
you. I hear you.
But there's that. But we don't need to just understand these concepts. We need to experience them somatically, and that's where I come in. But then I smoosh healing mamas together with other healing mamas and the Marco Polo group. And so they're having all this beautiful tending and truth telling and validation and empathy, and all the oxytocin is flowing between the women. And so I'm kind of creating this little non-creepy cult of, healing mamas that are kind of like
Mhm.
all aware of the same concepts, working with their bodies and nervous systems in the same ways, and just hyper blasting. People have said like it's like Mario Kart, the turbo blast button or something,
Yep.
where it just goes faster, and we want
Yeah.
that. And the body will take
Mhm.
her time, but we can nurture along with other women. I'm doing a shadow group right now called Safe in the Shadow for women that have already done Safe Inside. And so I'm building up like retreat work and deeper, more intense group work from women that have already done Safe Inside. So people that have already kind of worked with me on that level get access to some of that stuff because we need a baseline of security to go deeper, and
Yeah,
we need our community. So
absolutely.
working with that. And then I developed a 30-day little video drip program called Becoming Besties with Your Body that's on my website now. And that's a slow drip of somatic videos. Again, being in relationship with me, gradually teaching you how to be in relationship with your body using nature, sensation, spirituality, ancestors, music, and kind of taking you through a 30-day process. And the reflections from people that have received that have been really positive, because our body is so responsive to nurturance,
Mhm.
right? And empathy,
Yeah.
not just stress. And so those are the two biggest ways I think I can reach more people and not have to work more on my own. I'm trying to
Yeah.
really like figure out how to conserve my energy and give to as many people. So those are my two favorite ways. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
that. And then I have a
Well,
podcast too.
oh,
I have a
what's the name
podcast.
of your
And I'm doing
podcast?
Substack. Oh my God.
I mean, you got like all these little magical notes,
Yeah,
and it's 2:22 as I'm looking at the clock.
I know. It's spirit like, which one are you going to get rid of? No, it's
Yes.
chugging along, but I'm still building the ship while I'm like, sailing in it. But I write on Substack now, and that's been really nourishing. And it's a longer form place for me to connect all of the dots and to, illuminate some of these concepts. And I'm really enjoying that because I feel like there's this real moment that we're in, and I want to meet parents there. And then so that's called This Is What We Do Now. And I tell a little more behind the scenes because as a former clinician, I just want to be real. We need to see real examples. We need to see
Yeah.
authenticity and how I
Yeah.
navigate all my knowledge in my life. And then I have a podcast called The Reprogram, and that's a wonderful way to have more long form conversations. And I kind of curate the guests to be really cool people doing really cool stuff that
Yeah.
touches like all the facets of our healing experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's
There's
that.
There's amazing ways to connect with Ann. So make sure you find her on Instagram or wherever you want to connect. Of course, I'll have all of those details in the show description. So make sure you check that out. And it has been truly, truly a pleasure having you on the show today. I feel like so many of us are going to go and lay down on the ground and,
Please do. I
and
feel
give ourselves some
sad.
space. But yeah, you have been a grounded energy here for this community, and so grateful that you were here today.
Well, I love being called grounded because y'all, I was not. And it's just really, really fun and fulfilling for us to start to see how we shift, and we get to enjoy that. And thank you for that compliment. And I take it in. And I also just really appreciate all of the, vitality and bubbliness and energy that you have for this work. And I'm so glad you're out there giving that to women in your own unique way.
Yes, thank you so much. Make sure listeners remember to reach out to Ann, and of course we're always here to support you in all of your growth journey. And I want to always remind you that you are so worthy of your vibrant life. Yes, I'm celebrating you because you just finished another episode of the Phoenix Perspective Podcast. I'm so grateful that we got to spend this time together today. It's really been a blast. If this episode lit up your heart or sparked something inside your soul, please follow the show and share it with a friend who's ready to rise too. Until next moon phase, remember, you are so worthy of living your most vibrant life. I'll see you next time.